Yes, sir. Sir, I'm audible, sir. Yes, sir. Principal, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you unmute your mic, sir.
Your voice is well audible,
Yes,
and
sir.
my voice is audible over there, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your voice is audible, sir. We'll start it now, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Dear participants, it is my immense pleasure to deliver the welcome address here. And myself, Dr. Ramesh Babu, Principal of Pratusha Engineering College. On behalf of this institution, inviting all the participants and our elected speaker, Dr. Rajakumar Guduru. So all I'm inviting behalf of the institution. So these kind of programs are very essential, and Pratusha Engineering College is concerned, taking more concern about improving the knowledge related to the publications, and also in different areas of engineering and technology. So we used to conduct the more number of programs. Among them, this is the program being conducted by Engineering Club, Department of R&D, and Pratusha Engineering College. So this program is being organized by the Department of R&D, and it is my immense pleasure to say thanks to the department for conducting these kind of programs, because many people are started concentrating on research activities, but the outcome is concerned not appreciable. The reason is that they could not able to deliver the content in the righteous manner. So here, our department, the R&D department, has arranged one of the eminent professor, Dr. Rajakumar Guduru. He is the assistant professor of School of Humanities, Social Science and Management, IIT Bhubaneswar, and also he possesses a lot of that long experience in academics. So it is my immense pleasure to invite to this program, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
And please, madam, you take.
Yes, sir. Yes. Good morning, professors. Hope all are safe and healthy. On behalf of our management, principal, and R&D department, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the Pratusha family and for our webinar on English for academic research papers, writing clearly, concisely, and precisely. I want to start the session with a quote: "Develop passion of learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow," by Anthony Angelo. Now, I take a pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. Rajakumar Guduru, Assistant Professor, School of Humanities, Social Science and Management, IIT Bhubaneswar. He is interested in developing critical vocabulary of ESL learners, cognitive reading skills among the teaching fraternity. He has completed his PhD in English language teaching from English and Foreign Language University, and he has completed his MPhil English from English and Foreign Language University. He has secured many awards like Teaching Excellence Award for consistently and praised performance in teaching for the academic year 2021, and Award of Teaching Excellence in the year 2019-20, Award of Commendable Teaching in the year 1819, and that fellowship to visit Germany. He has also secured Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship and Ford Foundation Fellowship, and he has many laurels in his credits. Sir, I welcome you to take the floor now. Thank you, sir. Sir? Sir? Dr. Rajkumar, sir?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. You're audible now, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. I thank, first of all, the principal of the college for his welcome address. And it's quite heartening to know that Pratusha Engineering College is conducting from time to time various learning programs like this, or courses, or short-term webinars, All right, so that's quite encouraging and quite appreciable. And secondly, I thank you for introducing me at the outset, and it's a long introduction, in fact. So, well, it's quite simple, and I'm Rajakumar from the School of Humanities and Social Sciences from IIT Bhubaneswar. I welcome all the participants to this webinar, and I hope it's going to be kind of some useful to you for writing research papers. I understand it's a concern for all of us, right? So when it comes to writing research papers, it's a concern for each and every one of us, however experienced we are. Every time we write a paper, it's a kind of different experience. Therefore, keeping experience aside, it's a kind of new writing that we take to whenever we write a research paper. And I hope I'm audible. Hello.
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Proceed.
Yes,
Please
sir.
just warn me if I'm not audible, because there's
Yes, sir.
sometimes the network is quite weak here. And if I'm cut off from this, you can call me right away, or you can just warn me. Otherwise, I will not know.
Yes, yes, surely, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I welcome again all the participants for this webinar. I hope you're all safe and doing well during these difficult times. When it comes to writing a research paper, right? So there are too many things that are involved here, right? It's not just you are good at writing. I mean, you're good at writing, and you're good in writing in English, or that's different. All right. Although we come from different backgrounds, although we come from international schools background, all right, colleges background, all right. However good we are probably in English language, but that's different. There are different purposes that are there. Okay, when it comes to writing, speaking, reading, and listening, all the skills are combined together. The purpose of or the goal that determines the way we go about writing or speaking or reading or listening. So we are particularly concerned with the writing for research papers, and it's a serious concern for many of us, because we come from different backgrounds, and it's difficult to understand the nuances of language and to fix them appropriately as and when necessary. All right. So, but as I said, this is a very complex procedure, and because writing a paper, as I said, it's not just enough that you are good in English language. All right. So where does it begin? It begins from kind of initiating topic, right? And once you're clear with your topic, all right, then for brainstorming for ideas, and once you brainstorm for ideas, you need to organize and you need to revise it. And while revising, you need to keep certain things in mind, certain language elements in mind. So to fine tune or refine the way we've written for the clarity, for concise writing, and also for kind of being precise in what we want to express or explain. So just it's very important that we first of all we think of some of the aspects even before we write. As I said, the topic is very important thing, and it's not just that the topic is there, therefore you can just start. I mean, just go about writing. All right. So you need to do some kind of background work for that. All right. So what is the topic about? What is the purpose of the topic, or what is the goal of your writing? Okay. Once you are clear about this, who are your audience going to be? Okay. What kind of research you are doing? All right. What will be the possible outcomes of it? What are the methodologies that you want to employ? So all these things together, all right, it makes the paper. It's not just the writing clearly, concisely, and precisely. It doesn't mean that if you just know the language, we can go about writing it. No, unless you are clear about your paper. I mean the topic, or the thesis statement that you're going to explore. Okay, in different means, you won't be able to write clearly. You won't be able to express your opinion concisely and precisely. All right. So therefore, for that we need to have a kind of if we've done some kind of background readings. Okay. Much of the reading is associated. Much of the clear, concise, and precise writing is always associated with reading. And it's a kind of, we have to ask we have to ask ourselves, how many of us are good at reading? Okay, suppose when you want to publish a paper, how many of us really read enough, okay, into the past, into the particular topic or domain or related topics? All right, to what extent do we read? Do we do justice before for the paper by reading enough? I mean enough. It's not just reading 3 4 papers, but you need to do overall reading or gather enough information. Okay, well, then you can explain it or explore it, or you can interpret it. So gathering information and interpreting information is very much part of research. Therefore, um, so having done some background knowledge, it's very important that we take care of the language, which is a means of expression. All right. So language is very vast here, so you must understand this. All right. So people attend courses and courses after courses, but still they won't be able to do very neat writing. Why? Because there's too much about language. All right. So now we have come together, but when we single out the needs or the issues of a writing paper will be different for each and every one of us. So it's very difficult to bring in all the aspects together in one shot or at one go, and to focus on them. So therefore, learning happens, or writing for research papers, it happens. It's a process rather. It doesn't happen overnight, or it doesn't happen if you just sit for 1 month and take a rigorous training. It doesn't happen. All right. Things. The way we express. All right. The way we write. The way we want to convince. The way we want to kind of present our thoughts or ideas. All right. It depends on the way we think and the way we put them in words. Therefore, language plays an important role when it comes to writing research papers. So therefore, language, as I said, it's a very vast thing. There are too many things in that. Right? We can only just touch upon some of the important aspects. Of course, some of the aspects we've already known from our experience publishing, but there are certain aspects, simple aspects. They're not again when I say the language aspect, it's not the grammatical errors or a kind of syntactic errors that make the paper rejected. Okay, to be frank, what gets rejected is the organizational aspect, or the structure, or this is called the big picture of the paper. So we will look into some of these aspects as I take you through the PPT. So that will make things clear. So therefore, I just want to build some background understanding of the process of writing before we discuss some of the simple aspects of language. Okay, which I have gathered from my experience and from the reading resources, all right, from others' experiences. So I'm sure that these things will, this discussion will help you to some extent to refine your writing, and it will only help you to some extent. I'm not here as an expert. I'm not. Please take that. Let me humbly put it before you. I'm here as one of the learners, just like you. I'm also learning, so it's an opportunity for me to be with you here and to be associated with each and every one of you in this webinar, and to learn from you, okay, as much as you were expecting to learn from me. So therefore, let's learn together, look into some of the aspects. Let me warn you, but I have come up with some of the examples that might bore you sometimes, because see, as I said, writing means reading. Reading means spending time. Once you read and once you've done your initial reading, it means that you need to spend a lot of time for writing and writing and writing and rewriting and revising it. I mean, do we really have enough time? Do we really do that? How many of us revise papers when we write? How many of us really take time to revise it a number of times? So though every time you visit it, every time you revisit your paper, you tend to find some sort of errors. You may not find errors because you are familiar with somewhat the layout or the format of the paper or the words that you've used because you've written it. But when you ask your own friend or your colleague or someone else, an expert, okay, they might be able to find some of the errors. Therefore, taking time, okay, it's publishing, writing first of all takes time. First, you must be convinced about this. All right, unless we write on day-to-day basis, it's not possible for us kind of come up with clear and concise and precise writing. All right. So as I said, writing is a process and it involves too many things in it. So with this brief introduction, let me take you through the PPT so that I'll help you to understand some. I'll just give you the background to writing and gradually take you through academic language and some of the aspects of academic language. And then I'll also try to put before you some of the writing errors that we need to take care of when we're writing. So I'm not going to deal with some of the what's that well-known or familiar aspects of writing, but since for example subject and verb agreement that every one of us almost every one of us know that, or it's quite familiar, we are familiar with that, but I'm not going to deal with that kind of aspect. But there are certain other simple aspects which I have gathered from the reviewers, so therefore I'll be focusing on them. So there's a lot of examples that follow. So I hope you will be with me and read through the examples, and probably participation is important here. And only when you read and understand, I'm sure that it's time taking, but unless you read, all right, unless you read, it won't be possible for us to. I'm sorry, somebody's calling me. I don't know if somebody is from the webinar. Just 1 second, please. Good morning. Yeah. Oh, can I call you after some time, please? Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry. I thought it's from your side. Anyway, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So when we start writing, see, it's very important that we keep some of the basic aspects of language in mind. All right. I teach the scientific and technical writing. That's one of the courses compulsory courses we offer here for the PhD scholars at IIT Bhubaneswar. And I just, even at the beginning, even at the first class, all right, even the first class, I just advise them to go through the basics. For example, the parts of speech. All right. So you might be thinking it's very simple, but when it comes to identifying the subject of the sentence itself, it's difficult sometimes, and sometimes it's tricky. All right. Imagine we write the entire paper in English. Of course, we write the paper in English, but what is it? Why is it getting rejected? All right, because certain simple things or aspects are not in place. The elements of language are not in place. All right. So if we are very clear about all the aspects of language, and then the purpose is served, and there is no need for us to attend these kind of webinars. But the problem with us is that the simple and basic elements, as I said, the paper, yeah, when the reviewers send it, if there isn't much organizational, the big picture, if there is no changes that should be made with the big picture of the paper, all right, they just send back the paper. The manuscript is sent back to the author with a request to revise the language for basic grammar and the typos. All right, so these are very simple things that can be eliminated with the revision of the paper. Anyway, so it's very important that we have some basic understanding of the parts of speech. What are nouns? What are verbs? Right? What are adjectives? What are adverbs? Okay, coming from engineering backgrounds, all right, I'm sure that we might not have very much focused on these simple aspects. All right. So, but it's very important that when you are writing, when you say you are writing something, you must know the basic structure of the sentence. All right. How the sentence operates. What are the basic elements of the sentence? How do you construct a sentence? What are the types of sentences? All right. What are the elements that go into making a complete and coherent sentence? All right. So how does the structure operates? Okay, what is the structure of the sentence? When you put too many, I mean, a few sentences together on a particular on a theme or on a topic, it becomes a paragraph. What are the elements that operate within a paragraph? All right, when you put paragraphs together, you can write it in essay. What is the structure of the essay? What is the structure of the chapter? Okay, so these are from it starts from the word to even the sounds, for example, right? Even it starts much earlier. So I'm just taking it for granted because you're from engineering background. So the language starts with the sounds. Unless you are familiar with the sounds, you won't be able to place the articles a or an or the or the. That itself is a problem. Some of us are very much very what's that? We love placing the or the too many times at too many places. Okay, so that's not accepted. All right, so there's a purpose of using articles. Okay, there is a specific way of using articles. All right, a or an or the. Unless you know the sound system of language, you won't be able to place them appropriately. Of course, generally you might be using it, but if there is an error that occurred, which means you are not aware of the simple rule behind that. So therefore, it starts from the sounds of language, and then it goes. To a great extent, it becomes complex as it advances. Right. Sounds to syllables, syllables to words, words to kind of phrases, phrases to clauses, clauses to sentences, sentences become paragraphs. You see the way. Now, when I said words, words are quite confusing, right? Words are quite confusing. There are too many words in English. It's all about the words that play, okay, that do the magic when we write. Whatever you think, whatever you want to explore, whatever you want to present, it's all about the words that you express. Okay, through words that we present it. But words are not so easy as we think. Some words have different meanings from different contexts. How do you infer the meaning? How do you expect the writer, the readers to infer the meaning that you write from different contexts? So therefore, having a precise understanding or knowledge of words itself is very important here. And we have synonyms, for example. Synonyms are kind of related words, identical. In the sense they're very similar in meaning, but you cannot use saying that this is a synonym. You cannot use one synonym in all contexts. No, that doesn't fit in the context. All right. So these things should be taken. So there's a word. If you take a word, there's a formality and informal way of using it. Formal and informal way of using words. All right. The context defines the word. All right. So these things should be kept in mind. All right. Some words can be used formally or formally in an academic language, and some words cannot be used in an academic language. They are used informally. But if you mix them up, then it's an error again. All right, paper or the writing looks very clumsy. So therefore, we have to understand all these things. Now, if you are confused with identifying the subject of the sentence or the verb in the sentence or the object or the direct object or indirect object of the sentence or object of the preposition or complement, all right, if you're not aware of, if you cannot identify these elements in the sentences, it's very difficult for us to kind of frame the sentence itself. All right, so that is one thing. And the second thing is identifying the phrases. All right, words occur in groups. All right, so mostly we use phrases. All right, we use words in groups, not in individual words. Therefore, there's a noun phrase, there's a verb phrase, there is a prepositional phrase, there is an infinitive phrase, okay, there is a adjective phrase, adverb phrase, gerund phrase, all right, appositive phrase, absolute phrase. These are all the phrases that keep coming in your writing. Maybe you're not aware of this. When you
Excuse me,
read,
sir.
of course, you meet all these elements while reading, writing, listening,
Excuse me, sir.
and speaking.
So
Hello.
sorry for the disturbance.
Yep.
Sir,
Yes,
Rajakumar,
yes,
sir.
yes, please.
Sir, your screen is not visible, sir.
No, I'm not. I've not come
Okay,
to the screen yet.
okay, sir, fine, sir. Okay, you continue, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
I'll
thank you.
just in some time I'll just share the screen. Yeah.
Okay, sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you. What I yeah. So I'm talking about the phrases. So if you don't have, I mean, a basic understanding of phrases, okay, but yet you're every day you encounter these while reading, listening, speaking, and writing, okay, and it's quite interesting actually. Okay, we read and try to understand without even knowing what the prepositional phrase is, without even knowing what is a gerund phrase and what its function is. But by merely knowing the phrases, and identifying the phrases is not enough. Okay, the phrases play different functions within a sentence. Okay, a noun phrase can be an appositive phrase also. It can play the role of appositive phrase. Okay, so infinitive phrase can play a role of adjective. A gerund can play. A gerund phrase plays a role of a noun in the sentence. So, besides knowing or identifying the phrases, you should know the function that they play in the sentence. So it gets complicated. There are too many things, of course. First of all, they confuse you unless you read them again and again and again and then get them in your system. All right. Therefore, you need initial reading for this. So understanding phrases, and if you take a little larger phrase, larger parts of the sentences, the next is clauses. There are different types of clauses depending on that. All right, depending on their use, the main clause and subordinate clause. All right, again, subordinate clauses are the conditional clauses and relative clauses. Relative clauses are again defining relative clauses and non-defining relative clauses, etc. See, these are all every day we read through them, we write, we incorporate them in our writing. But the thing is, we don't identify them. That's the interesting part, rather. So I advise you people to play. I mean, to take interest in. This is a problem of for all, even people who come from. People who do PhDs in English and people who teach English language, teachers of English language also face the problem. I'm not projecting it as a problem for all the teachers who are from non-English subjects. No, that's not my intention. This is a problem for all the teachers. Teachers who are, in general, teachers who even teach the subjects of English also face the same problem. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's an individual responsibility to read. This is a personal reading. Nobody teaches at this age for us. Nobody offers courses on this, and it's quite funny to take courses on these simple aspects. So spend some time every day, and then take a personal interest because that will help you in refining and revising your own writing for a betterment and for clarity and expression. All right. So yeah. So these are too many things that are involved. So if you can go on speaking about this. All right. So as I said, writing is not it doesn't happen in isolation. Writing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in association with reading. Reading means thinking. When you read, you think and associate your ideas with what you want, based on the goal, based on the purpose of your writing. All right, you always try to associate your reading with your thinking, and try to make notes and try to make meaning out of that. Okay, well, from what you read and from what you think and from what you want to associate with, okay, with your own research topic, and you create a meaning, and then that meaning is somewhere kind of note it down, all right, in the form of notes, all right, so some kind of making notes or taking notes. So, so please understand that writing, when you say that writing is a kind of, it happens in isolation, no, it's always associated with the reading mostly. Okay, but when it comes to, especially when it comes to writing research papers, it's not just reading alone, but as part of research, we kind of get on to different methodologies. We use different tools, for example, kind of we use primary resources, secondary resources for gathering data. And also we use questionnaires, we use personal, informal, personal interviews, or formal or informal interviews, all right, open-ended questionnaires, closed questionnaires, observation of the classrooms, all right, or field observations, classroom observations, self-reflections. These are all the tools that somehow influence your writing. Okay, writing doesn't mean that just you know the topic and just write. That, see, the creative writing is different. All right, writing for stories is different. Okay, writing for films is different. Writing for what's that? Magazines and newspapers is different. Right? Okay, writing for no, pleasure is different, and writing for research is different. All right. So all these aspects will influence. Okay, when we say the research, it's writing for research, which means all these aspects will influence the way we write. Okay, so achieving the clarity and the conciseness and kinds of precision in writing, it's not a simple thing as we have imagined it. So please understand these all these aspects, and with this background, probably I'll help you to understand some of the other aspects. All right. Therefore, it's time for us to take to go through the PPT so that we can just understand these terms again in a more visible manner and with the examples. Okay, yeah. Let me share my screen, please. Oh, it's saying entire screen window. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir, we are able to see your screen, sir. You can share your PPT, sir.
Okay. Okay. 1 second, please. Okay. 1 second, please. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Right. 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 So some of the points might be kind of coming back here. We might be visiting them again here in the PPT, but I'll be skipping them because of the time. And this, I just kept some of the what's that? Some parts of the process of writing here, or some of the sections which I thought will be useful for you as a writer. Therefore, you can just go through them carefully later for better understanding them. It's okay. I might skip some of the slides because to focus on the important aspects. I mean, the other aspects which are quite relevant for you. All right. Now, yeah, so the English is a gatekeeper to scientific discourse. We know that English plays an important role, or rather, it's a global language. As a global language, it dominates or it influences, okay, much of the scientific and the technical world. All right. It's not just scientific and technical world. In all aspects of businesses, kind of social life. English is playing a quite important role. right? That we are aware of that. So if you take the percentage of the research that is being published in English, more than 80% of scientific research around the world is published in English. Okay, because it's because of two reasons. One is it's a global language. It reaches the bigger audience. Okay, the purpose of writing research paper is that we should have. I mean, it should be read by as many people as possible. Therefore, once you publish a paper, you have no control over that. Then it reaches all over the world, and people can read it or view it or make sense out of it as they want it. So therefore, uh, English publishing it in English is very much recommended. You know, almost all the journals or most of the journals only published in English, and but English is playing an important role. So we see that in today's educational policies of the different countries, of course in India and different countries, they are also taking up and giving importance to English education these days. Okay, preparing learners for the future. They think that teaching the courses in English or giving education in English is going to help them to become successful in their careers, and also it helps them to express their thoughts and ideas better. Because if you want to express ideas, okay, suppose you're writing a research paper, you want to express some of the ideas or some of the research findings in your own language. Okay, you won't find some of the words that are precisely meant for expressing those findings. Okay, we don't find them in our native language. Therefore, English as a common language, as a universal language, it has incorporated different words from different languages, and it has the power of expression, as it has a varied number of words. So therefore, expressing in English ideas and thoughts in English is what's that? It's universal. It gets universal recognition rather than publishing it in our local languages. And even with this English language education background, okay, non-native speakers, okay, in countries like India and other countries, and people, I mean, teachers, even at a higher level, education, premier in education institutions or universities, they're still at disadvantage because they're not able to write clearly, concisely, and precisely, and therefore not able to publish them. Okay, although they are good at technical knowledge or the research, the research topics or researching in their own field, all right, but they are not able to put across their ideas clearly and present them appropriately as per the requirements. Therefore, people the second, I mean, the non-native, okay, countries, they still have the problems. Now, the goal of any research paper is to gather information from various sources and then interpret it in one's own writing. All right. So, as I said, that we gather information from various sources, and we are here to interpret it in our own writing. So it's not just you gather and then just present as it is. No, but there is interpretation is an important part here. You need to add your own interpretation of the findings of other research, other past research, and then present it to the audience. So in the process, what we are doing is this is a kind of relationship that we develop, okay, between the author, that is probably it's me, and then the other writers and the readers. All right, so there's always a relationship between these three. Therefore, you have to keep this in mind when we even before starting writing a paper. All right. So broadly, any research paper will indicate two things. One is what you know, okay, or what you learned of a particular research. Okay, what you know about your own research, and what other people know about the same thing. Okay, so let me explain this, because when we after by the end of the research, okay, I'm sure that what I have what are the procedures I followed, what kind of results I've come up with. Okay, this is one thing. The other thing is that simultaneously I'm aware of the other people's findings, other people's the research procedures that they have carried out in the process of research. So these are the two things that indicate when we present a paper or publish a paper. So you have to make sure that these things are quite visible. So in any case, we have to keep readers in mind while writing a research paper. Right? We don't just write it for ourselves, right? Obviously, we write it for the bigger audience out there. Okay, so therefore, we have to keep readers in mind while writing paper. Now, the writing is a process, as I said. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay, it doesn't happen with a simple. I mean, it doesn't happen in isolation. All right, but it's a kind of process, okay, which starts from the pre-writing stage to writing stage to a revising stage or at the post-writing stage. Okay, the stages of these writing processes overlap, as you see the diagram in here. Okay, it's not just although some people, some writers or authors start with the pre-writing and then straight away go to the writing stage and then they just revise it and then publish it, but because they might not go back to the pre-writing stage or writing stage, okay, once they reach the revision stage. Okay, so different writers or authors, okay, approach this process of writing differently. Okay, there's nothing like hard and fast rule that you must do away with the pre-writing and then you do the writing and then revising stage. But obviously it starts with pre-writing, because you must be clear about what you want to research upon. The topic must be clear. That's only possible in the pre-writing stage. So once you start that, you don't kind of end that part there. All right, you go to the writing stage, and then from writing to pre-writing, pre-writing to revision, revision to. So this is a continuous process. Now, yeah, these are the three different, stages that I would like to draw your attention to. I like, pre-writing stage. What is that? Thinking about a topic. I don't want to spend a lot of time here because it's self-explanatory. And narrowing down your topic and discovering, reading about your topic is very important in the pre-writing stage. Identifying the topic, okay, brainstorming for ideas, okay, gathering information, required information, right? And basically you are preparing yourself, doing a preliminary kind of work, right? Before even you write your research paper. So these things are possible only in the pre-writing stage. Next, we move to the writing stage, which with the help of the pre-writing stage, the kind of activities that we have done in the pre-writing, for example, brainstorming, reading, taking note, observations, all right? So all these things will be helpful for you to organize your information in the writing stage. All right, so we come up with a clear concept map, or we can come up with some kind of a thematical representation or framework of your own research idea. Okay, so that way, if you have a clear outline or the concept map of your research from the readings that you have done in the pre-writing stage, then it will be very clear and it will be very easy for you to go ahead with writing your paper. And while writing the paper, okay, and you must keep that in mind that it follows a standard compositional format. For example, title, introduction, body, and conclusion. These are the broad. It's the broad framework of the paper. Okay, so it's the same with the essay writing, for example. All right. So, there are writers or authors who approach it differently. Okay, so although there is a standard format, okay, you must come up with the title, of course, but introduction, body, and conclusion, again, you can further subdivide them into different subsections, and it all depends on the comfortability and convenience and urgency and need of the time where you want to begin. You want to start with introduction straight away, or you want to start with the body, some of the some of the subsections of the body, or with the with some of the ideas that might start with the conclusion. So you must have the concept map that you have will obviously will help you understand. See, as you read through different research papers and researches, the ideas will pop up, and immediately you tend to forget them, because in the process of making meaning and say reading and making meaning, if you don't preserve these ideas as and when these thoughts occur, you might forget them. So the rate of forgetting the ideas that pop up, but if you don't preserve them, there is a high rate of forgetting. Okay, therefore you need to, as and when you get ideas, it's better for you to just note them down somewhere under different sections. Later you can develop them. At least you won't forget them. You will remember them again, and then you can develop on that. And yeah, so while writing, you can start kind of by writing the thesis statement itself, and then use a free writing technique. See, here, while writing paper, you don't have to initially stick to very kind of what's that very formal way of writing or making statements or sentences. That is not the of course, when we write, our intention is to write formally, but this is initial stage, therefore don't worry too much about it. So you feel free to first of all gather information, as much as information as possible, and then what's that just note them down. Okay, note the information down in a free style manner. Later you can fine tune it. Okay, so follow an outline or concept map to make it easier, and then follow reading notes on the topic. So this makes your writing quite smooth and easy. And the third stage is post-writing stage, all right, or it's kind of it's called a revising stage, all right. So while revising, go to the paper carefully and make changes in weak areas. It's very important. It's very important to revise the paper before submitting to any journal. All right. So before even submitting, you need to read some of the what's that instructions, or some kind of specifications, okay, which a particular journal mentions in their guidelines to authors. All right. So some of these things, some of the errors you can eliminate when you read carefully some of the guidelines presented by a particular journal that you intend to submit your paper to. So revision stage is very important. So where you can kind of deal with the two. These some of the areas that you deal with revising your paper is the things that mentioned here. They fall into two things, like kind of the content related information. For example, organization, structural aspects, and also the syntactic and other lexical and punctuation, related to punctuation and other citation issues. After writing the paper, put it aside, right? So, and do not look at the paper for a day or two. You need some time. You need to just give some time to yourself, okay, to revisit the paper again after a few days with new eyes. Since you are familiar with writing your own paper, you won't be able to identify the errors. Okay, so you need to give some time before you proofread it. So that's very important. So, or request your own colleague or some of your friends, okay, to edit the paper, okay, for any kind of for eliminating any kind of errors. Editing and proofreading is very important. This is it comes under this revising stage. All right. The revision includes, when you say you are revising a paper, it means you are editing and proofreading. Right. Even before the sort of reviewers give you the comments, you must make their life easy and smooth. Right. Because they are not paid. They are not paid for reviewing your paper. There is no obligation that they should they should kind of rework on your paper, right? They don't have so much time to spend kind of reworking on your paper. So as much much of the work is done by us, and it's only the kind of superficial the reading that they do, and when they don't understand certain terms and certain sections of the paper, and then they really get into there, and then they help you to refine it or revise it. All right. So therefore, it's not the job of the reviewer to rework on the paper. No, nobody can do that, and it's not ethical. And yeah, refining one's own writing is an essential skill. Okay, it helps in writing. The more you, the more you refine your paper, which means you are improving upon your writing. Okay, this is where we need to spend time. We don't spend time because we are in a hurry, right? But for us, publishing paper means it should be done as soon as possible, at the earliest. Okay, therefore we are in the lookout for a kind of the journals which publish it as early as possible. Yeah, we don't mind even paying for that. Okay, so but our work should be published. All right. So yeah, I understand there are certain we are driven by certain needs, and yeah, so there is a purpose behind that. But I understand that. But yeah, when we publish it, we at least we should eliminate some of these simple grammatical or syntactic errors, and see that it is error-free paper. Now, editing focuses on improving the big picture, as I said. Okay, it deals with the organizational aspects. Okay, the overall paper. Okay, it looks into the organization and the content. The ideas are in place across the paragraphs, all right, or across the sections. And if logically all the sections follow a logical sequence. So this is a big picture which editing means. When you're editing a paper means you take care of these aspects. Okay, there is another aspect in revising paper is a proofreading thing. All right, a proofreading a paper means it focuses on specific details like spelling, sentence structure, and referencing. So our concern here is not on editing, but proofreading, because the language that we want to kind of fine tune or revise, all right, or to make it better, all right. The purpose of a language and the role of a language, all right. Yeah, when we when we say that we are aiming for clarity and conciseness and then precision, okay, all these things can be managed, or rather or taken care of, and while revising the paper. Okay, as I said, while writing the paper, we don't take care of all these. We do kind of free in a free writing style, and then we see that things are in place. Only while revising it under proofreading, all right, once the big picture is clear, proofreading paper, you kind of refine your writing, making sure that there is a clarity of expression. Okay, there is a you express that you used a fewer words, therefore it's very concise in nature, and then you expressed your ideas very precisely with less number of words. Okay, so here, as I said, the editing, this editing part is not for discussion right now. It might help some of you probably when you read it later. You can take care of that. Now, again, in proofreading, there is a formatting. Okay, so these are all some kind of the overall the structure, or rather the format that is very important, because these things are already given there in the guidelines to authors, so that can be taken care of. Referencing and citations also, there is a specific style which each of the journals require. So you go through that, and then probably you do that referencing in the particular format they ask for. And the most important thing is language use. Sentences are complete and separated by appropriate punctuation. Spelling is accurate and consistent. academic tone is used throughout formal, objective, impersonal, concise, and precise manner. Okay, so academic tone is used throughout the research paper. Right, so this is where we get stuck. All right, so to understand these things, so I'll just draw your attention to the what is academic language. Okay, and it's three important aspects of academic language. And then probably the next section, further, I will explain some of the aspects of writing which need to be taken care of. I'm sure it's boring already. Hello, are you there? Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Oh my God. Hello, am I there? Are you there? I don't get to hear anything. Hello? Anyone from the audience? Hello? Hello? What's wrong?
Hello, sir.
Hello, I was wondering if I am audible or not. Nobody's responding.
Yeah, audible, sir. You are audible, sir.
Oh my God, I was
No,
really
sir.
confused.
No, sir. I have unmuted everyone. Muted
Okay.
everyone. So only they are
Okay.
not able to. You are audible, sir. Audible.
Yeah. Just wanted to check that because when there is no response from
Yes,
your
sir.
side, I thought I was speaking to myself.
No, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
sir.
you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sir.
Not at all. Not at all. All right, language use. So here is the important part. When you are revising your paper, you need to take care of all these aspects. So now I'll just, yeah, these are some of the guidelines for proofreading your paper. You need to take care of the subject and verb agreement. Okay, tenses are consistent throughout the paper. And the pronouns agree with the subjects they substitute. Okay, there's the pronouns referencing. There is the anaphoric reference and cataphoric reference. Okay, and you need to see that if pronouns really refer, but sometimes there is a mismatch. And sentence structure is appropriate. Okay, there is a subject, verb, object. Okay, they follow the order. Okay, or is there a misplacement
Sir,
of the
excuse
subject?
me, sir.
Or
Excuse me. Yes, sir. You're not
hello.
sharing the screen
Yeah.
now, no, sir. You've stopped the presentation, sir.
Really? Oh no. Did I?
Yes, sir. The presentation is not seen, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I did. Yeah, I'm just sharing it again.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, proofreading guidelines is you need to take care of some of these
Sir,
aspects.
can you change it to the full screen mode, sir?
Full screen mode, sure.
Or slideshow, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. The structure is appropriate. All right. You need to see that the sentence structure is appropriate. All right. Some of us have tendency to write only simple sentences. Some of us have a tendency to write complex sentences. All right. So it's not that you need to do a kind of bring in variety of sentences. Okay. To the structure of your writing. Therefore, need to take care of the sentence structure itself, and then word choices are clear or not. Right, you need to use appropriate words. As I said, there are synonyms, right, but they're not appropriate. They are not they don't suit the context. So you need to choose upon the right word, because it's a formal language. You need to choose the formal meaning of the word. And capitalization is correct. Right. So although it's a very simple thing, sometimes we get it wrong. All right. There are scholars who kind of don't maintain the consistency of the capitalization. Therefore, that's not accepted in research papers. And translation words are employed. It's very important that translation words, and that we'll see in sometimes. Some of these things I will be kind of taking you through the PPT with examples, but some of them are quite familiar. Therefore, you yourself can work on them or rework on them or revisit them in your free time and learn from on your own. And spelling is important thing. Okay, all the system works much of a spelling. I mean, works on the much of a spelling. What's that? Spellings, but still there are certain due to some kind of issues, uh, we just ignore spellings. So therefore, you stick to kind of one kind of spelling. It's not just follow sometimes US spelling. What's that from UA? I mean, related to US English or UK English. There is a difference. Sometimes even system gets it. It helps you understand. Rather, it identifies differentiation in spelling in US and UK. So therefore, if you follow a certain kind of spelling, you follow that particular system. Therefore, there is a consistency. And academic phrases are in place. When you write academic papers, it's very important that we use prefabricated phrases which are already worked upon, which are already present there. So therefore, taking some of these phrases to precisely to place them in appropriately, you place your ideas or take in or rather to start a paragraph or a section of your chapter. Okay, these kind of phrases will help you. There are a number of phrases depending on the role that they play, so you can use them. If I'll just show some of these as examples in some time. Punctuation with introductory phrases is very important. All right, there are too many introductory phrases that we use in writing, and that should be clearly indicated from the main clause. All right. So these introductory phrases, sometimes they're very short, they're sometimes too lengthy. When it's very short, you don't have to use a comma, but when it's lengthy one, all right, you have to separate it from the main clause, so to differentiate the meaning clearly, to highlight the main clause here. Now, academic language is very important. All right. So writing is influenced by purpose, as I said. It is writing for papers is different. Writing stories is different. All right, and writing for literature, for example. Okay, that is a different genre altogether. Therefore, when you're so there is a purpose behind your writing. Okay, so that writing is always influenced by the purpose or the goal of, what you want to achieve with your writing. Um, yes, it's important. The purpose of writing is here to analyze and produce knowledge. All right, there is already the body of knowledge present there. It's not that we are creating a new knowledge, or rather we are finding something new. It doesn't happen always, but there is always a body of knowledge. We just we participate in that with our own understanding, with our own background understanding, and then the little knowledge we participate in the body of knowledge. To sometimes we contribute to that, and sometimes we produce a new knowledge. Sometimes we reinterpret it uh, and produce it differently. Okay, so the perspective sometimes is different. That is also important. also very important in research. And importantly, academic language has its own style, degree of formality, and objectivity. All right, so you must understand that. These things are very important. So, and again, the way we write, okay, way we write depends on the role that we expect the reader to play. It's not just you write your paper and then if the reader doesn't do his, we have some expectation from the reader side also, that they should read it and understand it and make meaning out of that. It's not just enough I write the paper, my paper, and I make meaning out of it and I publish it. No, the audience must also, you must keep the audience and how they will read the paper, what kind of interpretations they make. Okay, and we have some kind of expectation from the audience. We expect them to make meaning out of this too, as much as we've done, or differently sometimes. That might lead to further research, okay, further interpretation. So interpretations differ. It's not just, sometimes it doesn't happen that only what you visualize and what you have come up, the findings that you have come up with, or the insights that you have come up with, not necessarily the author should take it as it is, but they might reinterpret it differently to create a new meaning out of that. So it's very important that in academic writing, to ensure that ideas and arguments are communicated in a clear, convincing, and professional manner. All right, because we keep readers in mind, therefore we need to make sure that our writing is clear, okay, it's quite convincing, and it's quite formal in nature. Okay, just let's do a small activity to describe the academic writing here. So I've just listed out some of the words here which describe the formal, academic writing. So it's if I ask you to identify, okay, how you identify or how you define and describe or define the academic writing, what are the words that you use? You don't have to give me the answers, but you can, of course, if you want, you can just put it in the chat box. That's also possible. But you can just do it kind of in your mind, or you just, if you have a piece of paper with you, you can just also do kind of groundwork as and when I take it forward. So it's very important that we are clear about the description of the academic writing itself. All right. So by doing this activity, you'll be able to understand. All right. These three things. One is, at least three things. One is the academic writing is very formal, and it's quite objective in nature. It's not subjective. It's objective, and it is quite impersonal. All right. So these are the three things that we can kind of an overall idea that presents from this description of academic writing. Okay, the tool used in academic writing is formal and not conversational or casual. All right, there are the people who write. Although I said that you start writing, or in the writing stage is just do a free kind of writing. Of course, when you write a free in a freestyle manner, there's a possibility of incorporating some of this colloquial language or informal, or in a kind of incorporating some kind of jargon. That's the possibility is there, but that's always when we revise or refine, we need to eliminate this kind of thing and make it very quite formal. Okay, so that's why it's very formal in nature. And we don't use short forms when we write academic language, and we use a precise vocabulary, as I said. Okay, the words mean differently in different contexts. Okay, we take same word can be can give away the meaning for in the formal meaning and informal meaning. The context must be very clear, and in the particular context, we need to use a word which gives away the formal meaning. So let's do a small activity when it comes to the words of formal and informal usage.
So in column A, there are words which are very informal in nature, all right? And in column B, there are words, okay, which are quite formal in nature. So you need to match with the words in column A and with the words in column B. So this is a small activity. Sometimes we tend to use phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are always, mostly they are used to kind of very in conversation, in conversation in a very informal way. So therefore, choosing a single words, okay, active words to a kind of informal and yeah, the expressions which don't fall into formal category should be avoided in our academic writing or writing for research papers. So this is very important. It's very easy to kind of match them. So this is one of the this helps you to understand that we need to choose words precisely, okay, depending on the formality of the formal nature of the paper. Next one is academic language. Language is quite objective in nature. All right, since it has no room for personal feelings or personal beliefs that we have, okay, or emotions that we go through. No, there is it's always a subjective way of writing paper. Okay, it leads to some kind of doubt, some kind of it looks less convincing and gives away to misinterpretations. Therefore, as much as possible when we write these research papers, we need to be very objective in nature, all right, where we present the facts and the evidence in an unbiased manner. This is a small activity. Probably you can read through the passage below, and then probably identify some of the emotive words or phrases that are listed there. Yeah, some of the words don't go in a formal context. It's a formal piece of writing which is extracted from some research point of view from paper. Now, choosing, all right, or identifying or emotive words, phrases in the list below will help you that to eliminate this kind of what's that? The personal or kind of what's that? Emotional language, okay, which we tend to sometimes incorporate. Therefore, there is no room for the subjective way of looking at or presenting our research. So we have to eliminate. So you can do this activity probably at your leisure time when you read. And next, academic writing is impersonal. Academic writing is quite impersonal. Yeah, it is impersonal in the sense that we don't project ourselves as authoritative when we are doing things, when we are presenting our own research point of view. Of course, the research is done by us, but we don't claim or we don't sound quite authoritative, which our readers may not like it. Okay, so we have to avoid the usage of pronouns like I and we as much as possible. All right, we get to see some of in some of the papers when we read that we employed or we discussed or we have administered questionnaire. So there is always the personal pronouns that dominate in some sections of the paper. Okay, so that should be impersonal, and so there are different ways to eliminate that kind of impersonal tone. So how do we avoid personal pronouns like using passive voice? Instead of saying we administered the questionnaire, we can simply say put it in the passive construction, say the questionnaire was administered. That way, we do away with the we factor, all right, that the personal pronouns. And using third person is also one of the ways to do away with or avoiding personal pronouns. I discovered that becomes research reveals that, or the paper reveals that. All right, we can see that it is evident that. Okay, so writing it in third person, okay, is one of the ways to avoiding personal pronoun. Making things as a subject of the sentence. Not the people, but the things. All right. I saw, I show becomes the report shows, or the discussion part shows, or the figure shows. All right. I interpret the results becomes the results indicate. So making things as a subjects of the sentences can also eliminate taking too much into personal pronouns. So these are the three important aspects which make our academic language quite formal and very appropriate in the context. This is a small activity again for us to just, yeah, matching the sentences in column A with the column B. It's a kind of, again, avoiding I and we pronouns, the sentences with I and we pronouns, and rephrasing it with in the third person. So it's quite simple again. So probably you can just do it in your free time, because it takes a lot of time for us. There's some more things to be looked into. Now it's, yeah, writing clearly, concisely, and precisely means, all right, there are certain aspects we need to keep in mind. Right. So we should have some understanding of how readers act, what responsibility they take when they read. All right, and to what extent they read, and how they read, with what interest they read, and what is the purpose of the reading for them. So all these things also define to some extent the way we write. So when we are aware of their intentions and the responsibilities that we want them to take when they read the papers, then we will be, in a way, taking care of these, being clear, being very, very concise and precise in our way writings. Now, approximately 90% of people understand only 8-word sentences on first reading. See, when we read these research papers, I'm sure that you are aware of this, and you all agree with me, don't you? See, sometimes it's a very general tendency that we write very long sentences. Okay, incorporating and or some kind of transition words or commas. All these, put them all together and make it a very long sentence. But that's not. It doesn't serve the purpose. Too many ideas, make the paper very clumsy, and then it doesn't. That's not the purpose of writing, actually. Ideas must be clearly explained separately in separate sentences. All right. If you just put all ideas in under one sentence, then it only irritates the reviewers, and then probably they don't feel like reading. Even the readers will not be able to make sense out of that. And writing short sentences is very important. Writing short sentences is very important. All right, we might be writing complex sentences, making writing very complex. Writing itself is a very complex procedure. All right, it's a complex skill, and all the more making it complex is not what is called for. Okay, make it simple. Okay, in a very lucid manner, we have to present our ideas. Okay, that is what is important here. And it's very important that we should understand that people, the readers, pay attention to the beginnings and endings of the sentence, not in the middle. All right. So therefore, this kind of it's an indication for us to where to place the information, essential information, whether to place it at the beginning or at the end. All right. So these things are very important when writing. Knowledge of these things are very important too. When writing a paper. And if the sentence is long, the reader focuses. If the reader will focus less on the middle of your sentences, and purpose of the information that you expect your reader to understand and make sense is lost. Okay, when they don't pay attention to the middle part of the sentence, there is no point in placing the important information in the middle of the sentences. Okay, two things here happening. One is you're making sentences unnecessarily lengthy, and also you're placing the most essential information in the middle of the sentences, which doesn't serve the purpose. And we should remember that when we want to publish a paper, we are all in the race. Okay, we are all in the race, and we want some kind of we want the journal to consider a paper, all right, and therefore we have to be very careful, okay, and make the paper quite readable and very simple. Therefore, there are greater chances of acceptance for publication. Now, placing information in a sentence. Now, I'll be taking from now on. I'll be taking you through some of the examples and some of the important aspects where we tend to kind of misplace the information, or misplace the subjects of the sentences, or misplace the punctuation. All right, some of these language-related elements I'll be taking you through one by one and with the examples. Okay. It's almost 11:30 now. Probably in 15 minutes time, 15 to 20 minutes time, we should be done with this, with these aspects, and probably we can take up some questions or some kind of discussion where you can express your views from your own experiences, and then so that I can learn from you. All right. Placing information in a sentence. So a clear and precise writing is important to hold readers' attention. Okay, so therefore, as I said, placing the information in a sentence itself is very important. Why? It immediately interests the readers. All right. So if you place at the end, or no, in the middle, and at the end, if you place non-essential information, that doesn't interest them. So this is very important. So look at the sentences 1 and sentences 2 here. English, which is now studied by 1.1 billion people, is international language of communication. Sentence 2, English, which is the international language of communication, is now studied by 1.1 billion people. Now, both the sentences mean the same. Their meaning is same. Okay, they express the meaning in a similar fashion, but there are old and new information if you see that. Okay, see, our understanding of English is an international language. That's old information. But people, the readers may not be aware of that, the fact that it is studied by 1.1 billion people, which is a new information. Okay, so if you place this new information in the middle and place the old and already known information at the end, okay, so there is a possibility that readers might miss out on the new information and only read upon the old information in a sentence is very important. The longer your sentence, the greatest chances it will be misunderstood. Okay, as I said, sentences, when you write for research papers, be it simple. Nobody is expecting you to write complex and all complex and compound complex sentences when you write. Simple sentences can also be so longer than complex complex sentences also. Simple sentence doesn't mean that it's very simple in nature. No. The clarity of thought, okay, the precise way of conveying meaning comes with simple sentences. It doesn't mean that it's only few words. No, it can be simple sentence can be longer than compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences, the way we write them. But unnecessarily writing longer sentences, okay, will not serve the purpose in academic writing. If you look at the first sentence here, this is the entire one. There are how many lines? There are about 6 lines. This is only one sentence. Okay, there are commas, there are conjunctions, there are what is that, transition words. Okay, all these we used all possible linkers to make the sentence quite long. There are too many expressions, there are too many ideas expressed in one sentence, which is quite confusing and it's quite lengthy. Okay, in academic writing, we don't accept this way. Okay, no reviewer will tolerate this kind of writing. Now, if you look at the revised version, okay, this entire thing is rewritten in 4 sentences. Okay, for the first sentence is of 11 words, then second is 7 words, and the third one is a 22 words and 24 words. And even the total number of words is reduced to 64 words compared to 71 words. So when you write, when you reduce the number of sentences, okay, I mean when you write the information or the different ideas under different sentences, okay, it comes very the length of the sentences also become less, and overall the meaning kind of is clear, and also the overall length is also becomes, I mean it is reduced. So there are many benefits of writing in short and precise sentences. Subject of the sentence. Okay, as I said, it's important to identify the subject of the sentence, because the subject of the sentences is what it gets highlighted in any sentence. All right, whether you make active voice, passive voice, active voice, but the subject is always highlighted. All right, so therefore choosing, okay, the subject, okay, that leads to most concise or precise in sense is very important. All right, so therefore instead of writing long sentences and placing the subject, I mean highlighting the least important subject, it is important that you rephrase your sentence and highlight the subject in a more meaningful manner, in a precise manner, or rather concise manner. Making the sentence very short is very important here. If you look at these 2 sentences, most significant values are highlighted in table 1. Okay, this is a passive construction, I believe, and the second one is the table 1 highlights the most significant values. This is a direct an active verb is used here, therefore it's an active voice. So therefore expressing the meaning or writing sentences in active voice using active verbs is very important. All right, that highlights the significance of the subject, and it also presents in a very concise manner. And some of the examples I have presented here is, and sometimes we have tendency to write sentences with it. We begin the sentences with it. When we do that, what happens is we delay the subject, or we put the subject by the end of the sentence. All right. So that is should be avoided in academic writing. We when I read when I was proofreading some of the papers, I do come across these kind of sentences. They seem to start sentences with it, okay, which delays the subject. Now, if you revise the sentence in the first sentence, in the first example, the new version must be used. So using modal verbs, okay, wherever it is possible, okay, we have to see that we place the subject at the beginning, and then we make it very precise. And the pronoun referencing is also sometimes it's very confusingly used. As it confuses. Pronoun referencing is very important. Sometimes we don't give exact referencing, and because when the pronoun is preceded by 2 or 3 subjects or nouns for that matter, and you should know to which this particular pronoun is referring to. You must clearly indicate that. Sometimes it's quite absent and it's quite ambiguous. So that ambiguity must be clear. So it is important always to place the subject at the beginning. I mean, to describe the subject at the beginning, and then later followed by what's that? The pronoun. Therefore, there is the clear reference to the previous reference to the subject which it stands for. The pronoun stands for. So that you can see in sentences in second examples. And in the third examples is that subject, the verb and subject. Sometimes there's a confusion where to place the subject. Subject is not placed after the verb in English. In English, always the subject comes first. At least in the most of the cases, except in exceptional cases, the subject comes first and then followed by the verb. Okay, but there are people who write it in a way because they're not aware of this, right? This particular rule. Therefore, they tend to write the subject after the verb, which is not accepted. All right. So this kind of thing is not quite appropriate in academic writing. So it's always it's important that we describe something before uh, we say what something is before we begin to describe it. All right. So therefore, subject comes first and then followed by the verb. And the next important thing that confuses, or rather, the writers are kind of facing the problem with is the avoiding non-essential information. All right, they don't know how to place this particular non-essential information and how to really place them, where to place them at the beginning or at the middle or at the end. So these kind of errors besides sentence becoming an error, creating an error, it also takes away the reader's attention. So therefore, it is very important that it's important to see that there is no extra information that comes between between the sentences, or extra information is not inserted within the sentence. Right. Or sometimes we tend to give a lot of we distance the subject from the verb by inserting non-essential information, thinking that it is an essential information. Okay, or thinking that we are adding more information or giving an extra information to the readers. No. So we always must keep the subject verb together, and we have to avoid any kind of non-essential information, okay, which comes within the sentence. And if you look at some examples here, the result after the calculation has been made can be used to determine why. All right, after the calculation has been made, the result can be used to determine why. So here, when you rephrase the sentences, what we are doing is that we are clearly indicating that non-essential information doesn't disturb the readers. All right, it doesn't confuse the readers. Rather, it helps the readers to logically see the point, or read the point. It doesn't deviate any kind of information. Therefore, we have to choose where to place this non-essential information. This could be relative clauses, or it could be kind of prepositional phrases that come. Okay, so if it's a prepositional phrases, we can place them at the beginning of the sentences, okay, followed by a comma. Or if it is a non-essential information, right, we should be avoiding them within the sentence as an insertion. It can be placed by the end of the sentence. So therefore, based on what you want to highlight, okay, based on what you want to highlight and how clearly you want to convey the message to the reader, you have to rephrase the sentences and avoiding mostly non-essential information. Yeah, as I said, the academic phrases and sentences, there are already readily available academic phrases and sentences. Okay, from the literature, there's something called academic phrase book. You can you can Google it. So that will be very handy and helpful for all the researchers. So please visit that site, and then that particular site, and try to use them appropriately as and when necessary. So these academic phrases and sentences are very helpful because they help you to kind of precisely start a paragraph. Okay, precisely kind of state what research gaps are in literature, or what the problem statement is, or how to start kind of introduction. Okay, so these academic phrases, uh, they're all they belong to different sections of they're all what's that they help you to fix all the sections of the paper. In other words, there are too many of them based on the function they play. So please visit that academic phrase book, it is called. Then use them, these ready-made sentences and phrases, you can use them appropriately to define. It could be, to start, to conclude, to elaborate, to exemplify, okay, to show the compare and contrast relationship. So based on all these functions, or in addition, showing, to add some more information. All right. So these academic phrases will help you because they are all ready-made phrases which are available there. So using these phrases will also help you sound quite academic in nature. And most importantly, the punctuation errors we come across. Right? As simple as a full stop. We know that the full stop means that the sentence comes to an end. But while ending the sentence also, there are scholars who tend to misplace the punctuation. They give space before placing the punctuation, which is an error. It is a typo. Right? They don't seem to understand that it is the space is followed by the punctuation, not preceded. I mean, you don't give any space before the punctuation. But there are scholars, I don't know where they get it, how they get it. In spite of telling them repeatedly, they still stick to that kind of, I don't know, somehow they are obsessed with that kind of errors. We should eliminate that. Okay, so you should never use a space, okay, before the punctuation mark. It's always the space is after the punctuation mark. And use brackets and quotation marks, underlining, bold script, or capital letters to emphasize important information. All right, if you think information is you want to highlight some information, or you want to separate some information, or you want to kind of show that this particular information is important, right, or very technical in the sense, you need to use any of these. All right, but follow consistently. Consistently using one type of punctuation is very important. Use quotation marks to enclose direct quotations. Okay, and when you use quotation marks, one of the errors that we commit is that we place the punctuation marks outside the quotation marks. No, quotation marks, when we use quotation marks, all right, the punctuation is always within the quotation marks. Please note that. All right, yeah. So, and most writers seem to have problems using with the semicolons. So it's best to avoid semicolons by starting a new sentence. All right, semicolon joins, and it's used for different purposes. Okay, when we use a semicolon, okay, we are writing a compound sentence here. All right, we use semicolon in constructing a compound sentence. All right, so sometimes why do we use semicolon? Because these two independent sentences are joined by semicolon. They are closely related to each other. Therefore, we join these two sentences with a semicolon. But this very rarely we come across this kind of construction these days. So therefore, it's better to avoid in academic writing. Instead of writing a compound sentence, it's better make two independent sentences, simple sentences. Punctuation such as dashes and exclamatory uh, marks are considered informal in research writing. We don't use these kind of punctuations mostly in academic research, right? Yeah. So it's better to avoid them. The most important thing is comma. We can't do away with comma, all right? So I think it's the most frequently used punctuation. Therefore, attention must be paid to comma, right? And there are 4 types of comma. It's very self-explanatory. When you just read through the kind of examples, you will be kind of able to understand that. And I would like to draw your attention to the last one, the 4th one. Bracketing commas always come in pairs to set off weak interpretation, which could be removed from the sentence. My father, who hated cricket, always refused to watch me play. Now, who hated cricket is not an essential information here. So when we insert non-essential information within a sentence and separate the subject from the rest of the predicate or the verb, right? So this non-essential info, because it is a non-essential information, this information should be preceded and followed by comma. There are 2 commas which work at hand here. So please remember this type of constructions. So commas is very important, and also they play a very important role when we use introductory phrases. So it could be a prepositional phrase, or it could be infinitive phrases, or it could be a gerund phrases, or it could be kind of participial phrases. All right, we use these phrases to introduce something, or as an introductory what's that mark before the sentence, before the main clause rather. So when we use these introductory phrases, it's always followed by a comma. So please keep that in mind. So comma is something which is inevitable in writing, and it makes really that it makes sense, or it just spoils the sense of it just creates some kind of confusion in writing. So therefore, appropriate use of a comma is very, very essential. Please read more on this, and there are more uses of comma, and therefore as researchers we need to use this particular punctuation mark appropriately. The next important aspect of language which confuses, or rather which takes away the academic writing, as a matter of fact, is transition words or linkers. Many of the researchers they don't incorporate these transition words in writing. In fact, in research or in academic writing, what makes academic writing is the appropriate use of transitions only. Otherwise, what happens is that what is the role of these transitions? Transitions kind of help us to see the relationship between the sentences and between the sections. All right. So if we don't make these kind of links clear, okay, if the readers don't see the logical flow or logical connections that is built through these transition words, what happens is that these sentences that we write is a random assortment of sentences only. So it's very important that we build up the connections by using appropriate transition words. Okay, so there are too many of them. Transition words belong to a number of that they fall under a number of categories or sections depending on the function they do. They belong to, they introduce additional information, and they also help us to see the compare and contrast nature of the sentences, and they also give some kind of explanations or examples, and they also do the function of expressing consequences and many more. The time, sometimes space. All right. Yeah, these are some of the what's that linkers or transition words which fall into different categories. So as a researcher, you must have a good understanding of these transition words and appropriate use. You must use as many transitions as possible in writing. See, I just would want to advise you that you go back to your own writing, a piece of writing, and see how many transitions you have used. Okay, identify some of these transitions in your own piece of writing which you have done recently, and just identify, underline them, and see how many you've used. So this way you'll be able to know whether you are using or incorporating these transitions to make your writing academic or not. And yeah, there are transitions or linkers. As I said, there are number of them. Okay, as simple as that. From conjunctions to the transitions in between, there are a few other words which help us to see that the logical flow of ideas is maintained in writing. Okay, so what are they? For example, if I want to spell them out, for example, the conjunctions, and it could be like pronouns, and it could be parallel forms, it could be like what's that the tense references, right? So all these things come under conjunctive adverbs, for example. All right, conjunctive adverbs. So some of these things are considered to be okay. The range of transition words from simple to very complex in nature. Okay, they vary from simple one word to a kind of a group of words. All right, so please understand that active use of transitions will help you to achieve the quality of writing a paper. And transitions between the sentences and transitions across the paragraphs is very important. Using transitions not just between the sentences. All right, so often they are very one word transitions that we use between the sentences, but we have to see that there are which are very complex in nature. They come across different paragraphs, across the sections of the paper. So therefore, incorporating the transitions between the sentences as well as between the paragraphs across the sections is also very important, because they help us to see the links between the sentences or also across the sections of the paper, because all the paragraphs are related to the thesis statement or a research topic. And I just want you to understand the difference between two things. What is the difference between the conjunctions and transitions? I said the conjunctions are also kind of, they fall under the category of transitions, okay? Because they join the words, they join the phrases, they join the sentences, okay? So therefore, it's important to understand the difference between these two. The difference is very simple. The transitional words indicate the relationships between sentences and paragraphs, and they do not connect them grammatically. Okay, even if you remove the transition word there, the sentence can somehow be written into separately, and then the sense can be made out of these two sentences. Same meaning can be inferred from the context. On the other hand, if you remove the conjunctions, okay, from the sentences, the sentence becomes ungrammatical in nature. All right. Therefore, this is the simple difference between conjunctions and transitions. When we use them in our writing, we have to be very careful. What are the conjunctions? What are the transitions? What is the role of these two? Okay. So please understand this difference and use them appropriately. If you read these examples, it will be very clear for you. And avoiding redundancy. Redundancy is using too many words to express the meaning. All right. So unnecessarily we end up writing too many words and make it very lengthy in nature. The sentences become very lengthy in nature. All right. Whereas it can be used fewer. I mean, it can be whereas the sentence can be written very in a precise manner or a concise manner with using fewer words. So it's very important to be precise when writing. Okay, so to help the readers to kind of understand the important information. Therefore, it is important to cut down the words, cut down the unnecessary sentences, or even the paragraphs when we look at the entire section or the paper. So reducing them to the concise conciseness is very important. How do we do that? How do we do that? We need to read and reread it and understand the meaning and then rephrase it. And for that, we need to understand what are the important words, what are the less important words. To choose the important words and eliminate the unimportant word, less important words, and then make the sentence very concise in nature. So these are some of the examples. Probably you can just go through them after some time, and then try to understand them, and probably you can apply the same thing to your own research paper which you have written recently, and see if we have written unnecessarily lengthy sentences where we could have avoided some of the less important words. Wes, I wish we could go through these examples one by one. Of course, already time is a matter. It's already 12 o'clock. So probably I shouldn't take much time to. I mean, but reading and helping us understand these things will take time because, as I said, we need to read to understand the actual issue here. So therefore, it takes some time. So therefore, I just placed this example for you to read it later and to understand them precisely. Avoid words which are more generic in sense. Where possible, use the most concrete words that are available. All right. So redundancy means that reducing or avoiding words which are in which mean generic in sense. Right. Some of us, not knowingly, we use words which repeat, which two words mean the same, three words mean the same. So that's not is what is required in academic writing, because we want to write it very concisely. There is no room for word repetition or sentences repeating the sentences again and again. So if you read through these particular examples and you see what kind of redundant words that are repeated here. For example, it was small, round, yellow, and heavy. Okay. There is no point in saying it was small inside. The size itself is kind of included in small. When you say small, the size comes with it. So there is no point in again mentioning that. So this way we tend to use a lot of words unnecessarily, which makes a sentence very long and redundant. And use of adjectives. Yeah, sometimes we think that using adjectives and adverbs to qualify or quantify the nouns that we describe is very important. Of course, at certain places it's very important, but using too many of them unnecessarily or inappropriately then calls for some kind of redundancy again. All right, so it's very difficult to quantify and qualify these some of these adverbs and adjectives. All right, therefore it leads to some kind of ambiguity in a sentence. I mean in the meaning and meaning making. Therefore, it's very important to avoid as much as possible to avoid using adjectives and adverbs, too many of them, okay, in research papers. Writing less is less. I mean, when you write less, you make less mistakes. Okay, so therefore, writing too much is not. So see, when we write for papers, it's always the length of the paper that matters. Although they don't mention that this particular length of the paper, but it should be as precise as possible. Okay, as short as possible. All right, it's not writing too many of words with making unnecessarily lengthy sections will represent the intelligence, or some kind of knowledge is displayed there. No, that's not the understanding that we get here. Okay, so when you read some of the research articles in leading journals, okay, you have to pay attention to different sections of the paper, the layout of the paper, the organizational aspects, the content, how it is presented, or the big picture must be looked into very carefully. All right, so that's an indication for us. It serves as a model for us. All right, how precisely they write and how concisely the sentences are presented. So that way we should have. There's no way, as we are not native speakers. It's good to have some paper written by native speakers from one of the reputed journals before us. Okay, so that we read and we understand the nuances of writing. All right, therefore we also model our writing, okay, after this particular paper. So this should be the aim while beginning to write, or even before writing the paper. So when we read when we read into our own literature review, we do come across different papers. Therefore, focusing on these aspects, okay, that is the big picture, the content and organizational aspects of the paper, as well as the language aspects of the paper, is a wonderful thing. And therefore, you need to be aware of these aspects so that you can take it as a model when you write and represent some of these aspects in your own writing. So writing less is very important. Okay, when we write less, and there is a less possibility of making mistakes. And prefer verbs to nouns. Prefer verbs to nouns. Why? Because the writing too many nouns makes a sentence very heavy to read. That is not required here. Okay, therefore, use verbs, active verbs, so that the number of words is reduced, and also the sentences flow in a better, logically, and there is also variety in your writing. Therefore, prefer verbs to nouns. Don't add too many nouns. You can just cut down the number of nouns. And yeah, this is another important aspect where some of us tend to use the verb plus noun construction, which unnecessarily calls for helping or a helper verb in association with the usage of noun. So uh, we have to avoid verb plus noun constructions, and we have to use precisely active verbs, okay, showing some kind of action, okay, which engages the readers, okay, while reading the papers. Therefore, action verbs are called for. They come in um, they come in different what's that sections, under different sections. So choosing them appropriately and using them in your own writing will sound quite academic in nature. So these are some of the examples where you can avoid verb plus noun kind of construction with one active verb. For example, instead of saying achieve an improvement, you can say he improved. All right. Carry out a test. This is the tested. All right. So use one particular verb instead of writing too many. I mean, the verb plus a noun construction. Please go through these examples and then probably you will be able to understand. And choosing the shortest words is also very important. Right. Thinking that we should use kind of complex words. Okay. We sometimes miss out on the brevity. See, when we express, the brevity is very important. All right. So the small words or short words can also be used where it is possible. Okay. To bring in the brevity to your own writing. So these examples will help us to understand. So instead of saying a recommend, we can say advise or urge. It's very simple in nature, but it is very appropriate in the formal context. But if these simple, short that words sound, if you think they sound quite of informal in an academic context, better we retain to the long words. So some of these are the examples. So it's unnecessarily using a lengthy words where we can use simple words. That's the purpose here. But we do that. We do thinking that using long and complex words is considered to be a kind of a style of academic writing. No, that is not true. And choose the shortest expression. Choose the shortest expression. Okay, so see, sentences, we can express the thoughts or ideas differently. You can express it in a very lengthy fashion, or you can use it in a short fashion, or you can express it in a very short manner. So when when our concern is expressing it very in a short, when we are looking for brevity in writing, okay, choosing the shortest expressions is it what is called for in academic writing. Therefore, instead of writing phrases when the one single word, a simple word can rephrase the entire phrase, okay, better to use a simple word than using a lengthy phrase. Here we are reminded of using one word substitutions. One word substitution. Instead of writing the lengthy definitions or kind of explanations, simply you can use one word, okay, which can substitute the entire sentence. That way, we are being very concise in nature. And most importantly, yeah, reduce your authorial voice. Okay, as I said, sometimes when we read papers, we come across some of us are very obsessed with we factor here. Okay, we observed that, we conducted that, okay, we admit, we have taken, right, or we have supervised, right, we elaborated. So that we thing always tend to kind of figure in their writing. So that should be avoided, because the readers might not appreciate that kind of the tone when we write in a formal context like academic papers. So therefore, being objective is always appreciated, and then it is what is expected. So if you read examples here, it's quite clear. We can identify two categories of users that can use shortest expressions. Which sounds like authoritative in nature. So these are some of the language aspects which we frequently come across as for a revision of the paper, or when the reviewers send back. Okay, these are some of the language issues that I have come across personally, besides many others. So therefore, some of us might be really struggling with some of these aspects. So you can relook into these aspects and other aspects, okay, based on your personal needs. Okay, you see, it's not that everybody is kind of making errors in this in some of the aspects that I've mentioned here. Okay, as I said, language is quite vast, and there are too many aspects, and the needs depend. Okay, I mean they vary from person to person, from the backgrounds that we come from. Okay, so I have, from my experience and from what I have come across from the reviewers, I have collated some of the information and placed it before you. But for some of you who might be looking for some other issues and you want to rectify them, probably you can seek help with your colleagues and some language experts, or you can do it by reading online resources, and you can just do away with some of with your own interest and reading. So well, as I said, it's very important to have a model paper before us. Okay, for both to look into the big picture of our own paper writing, as well as the proofreading aspects of language aspects of the paper. So that is very important at initial stages of writing. And it's also important to find an expert, or at least you must ask your own friend or a colleague to just go through paper once before you submit it finally, so that you are confident, and you can also minimize the errors. And the most important thing is we need to participate in some of the writing courses, because as I said, it's a process. It's not that you cannot achieve all these aspects in one go, because it keeps sometimes they keep as I said, that journals differ in the requirements. In the guidelines, if you go through some of the journals, right, they have their own specific requirements. Therefore, that will help you to understand what kind of requirements are expected, so that you can focus when you go through the courses. So therefore, attending some of the writing courses wherever possible, whenever possible, if there are courses offered, or talks or lectures that are being given on this particular writing course, I mean writing aspects or writing process, you must attend these. And also it's very important to improve your language doesn't simply by reading, but it's very also important by attending conferences, English language conferences, okay, English language papers, reading English language papers, and also having English language discussions from time to time. So you need to take or attend and participate or read, or do these kind of activities, so that our knowledge gets activated, and it also kind of it widens to all the aspects that are required, all the formal aspects of language that are required. But when we participate in discussions like this, we learn. All right, when you evolve yourself, when you kind of take a responsibility to discuss and participate in kind of activities like these, there is a room for learning and improvising. And set up a writing group within your academic department for mutual learning. That is very important. Okay, there are similar. See, everybody wants to write and publish papers. Okay, but we do it sometimes quietly, because it's very, sometimes we consider it very personal. All right. So, but we can come out of this kind of like a kind of, what's that, notion, and then probably it could be a pair work, it could be a kind of group work, but you come together, share some of the information that is important, that is required, that will help you. All right. So kind of form a group and then share information, and then help each other. That should be that's good for mutual learning. And to spot errors more easily, read your text aloud. All right, and take breaks between writing, editing, and proofreading. This is very important. It's not that you write continuously and just don't give any break and you publish it. No, you will kind of end up too many, and the paper will obviously come back with too many kind of what's that uh, reviewers with comments. That is not what we are expecting. All right, give enough time, and then within the time that you have, do the best that is possible. And reread your instructions, questions, and rubrics so you can approach the task with the clarity about your aims and purpose. Task in the sense the academic task, the writing part I'm talking about here. So you know what is before you, okay, the purpose before you, okay, the time frame before you, okay, the concept that you have before you. All right, so these things are constantly, okay, reviewed and revised, okay, based on the instructions. Okay, suppose you want to publish a paper in one particular, you prepare your journal, and you prepare your paper, or you write paper keeping one particular journal in mind. But the time comes, you might want to publish it in another journal. So you might have to make some minor changes here and there. Therefore, there's nothing like hard and fast rule that you fix it, or come up with hard and very fixed. I mean, writing can never be fixed in nature. Therefore, it's always room for making changes based on the concept map, or based on the thinking that new thinking that happens while reading. All right. So, as I said, the meaning is always created. That there is always room for fine tuning the paper. And most importantly, have a personal checklist and add your own items to the checklist based on the feedback we have received in the past. All right, we might have submitted our papers to different journals. We might have received some feedback. All right, so keep that. You must repository. You take those feedbacks and put it in a particular. You gather all these comments in one place and make it as a checklist, um, and add to the checklist some of these comments. Therefore, you are careful when you are writing a paper. So these comments, every time the new comments that are received are just refining while you are revising your paper. So only results in a betterment. So these are some of the things that I just wanted to highlight as part of this webinar. And I'm sure that there is so much to learn and to incorporate in writing. As I said, it's a process, and it's very difficult to kind of incorporate all the aspects of language because there are too many of them. All right. So please, you personally, you do the self-analysis and see what kind of aspects that you are lacking, and what are the issues, language issues that you are facing personally, and focus on them. Take help. Do not hesitate to take help from your seniors, or from your colleagues or friends. Okay, learn mutually, and so that we learn better, and we do our best in a formal with the formal writing, like academic writing and academic research papers. So I wish all the best to all the participants here today, and thank you so much again for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and to share some of my thoughts with you. And I'm sure that's a very I've given very general understanding of some of the issues, but you need to rework on them. So you need to understand these concepts thoroughly, these aspects thoroughly, and then do some kind of background work, or rather further work. Okay, so use online resources. There are plenty of online resources. Spend some time. So spending time is the most important thing when it comes to writing. Hardly spend time, but still we expect to do a great job when it comes to writing. No, that doesn't happen. The more time you spend, it's better for you, and the more you revise your papers. Remember that you are you are getting better and better every time you revise your paper. So therefore, keep these things in mind, and let's keep in touch with each other, and And any comments and questions are most welcome from now on. And then probably, if time permits, probably we can also interact with each other. So thank you once again. Thank the organizers and all the participants. And now it is open for some kind of discussions or some kind of clarifications. And I'll be very happy to share and to listen to some of your experiences from your own research writing point of view. Yeah, I'll be happy to learn from that. Yeah, thank you. And it's over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session. Participants, if you have any question, please kindly raise your hand. I can unmute. Hello, participants. If you have any question, please just raise your hand. I can unmute. His recordings will be shared in the WhatsApp. Sir, you can even share the PPT to Krishnamurthy sir, so I can get it, sir. Okay. Rajkumar sir.
Hello, madam. I'm here. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. If you are able to share the PPT to Krishnamurthy sir, I can get the PPT, sir. Okay, I can share.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I'll do that. Yes.
Any questions? Please yeah. 1 minute, sir.
Yeah. No problem. I'm sure that is quite lengthy session. It's 2 hours. It's quite lengthy. I understand. It's quite sometimes when it comes
yes,
to
sir,
languages.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Vidyasagar here. Yeah, from Pune. Yeah, I want to ask that there is good suggestions, but sir, how to make sentences more like for the representative of argument, one argument, and how to connect one sentence with the other with the one argument and serial wise and one paragraph to another paragraph. How to connecting the problem of connection, making connection between the sentences is most important, and how to represent more effectively our arguments. This is the only short query.
Right. Thank you for asking this question. It's very important. See, when we write, as we've already mentioned that in our discussion, so when we write, we write for when we present ideas in a more logical fashion, connecting ideas one after the other. Okay. It's not that random sentences we put together and we call it as a paragraph. So you start it with kind of working on conjunctions first, and then gradually taking to transition words. Okay, so you work some kind of see. There is so much information that is available online. So please see. It's all with the practice that comes. It's nothing like when you have two ideas, two closely connected ideas must be connected or linked up. Okay, in what's that in writing. Okay, in a descriptive writing or in a kind of formal writing, the ideas must be linked together. Okay, they should not be hanging as if they don't belong to each other. Therefore, when we don't link them up, the unity of writing is missing. So therefore, start with conjunctions. You see how you connect two sentences using connections first. Okay, using punctuations first. And when you use connections and punctuations, they go together. All right, so you start with the conjunctions and then start with the the transition words, as I said. Okay, so it all depends on the purpose of writing. See what the idea you're expressing. See, there is one idea, the next idea can be comparing or contrasting. What is the purpose of your what is that your idea here? Are you comparing and contrasting? Are you showing the the time sequence? Are you showing some kind of what's the similarity? Are you adding information? So based on the purpose of what is that based on the purpose, we incorporate different conjunctions or connectors or transition words. That way we link up the ideas. So you have to start with conjunctions, gradually take to higher and complex words like transition words. So that way you need to do some kind of a practice. Only if the practice you will be able to see how you are linking up ideas under what context. All right. So please do some kind of online activities, and that will help. That the more activities you do, and that will help you to see the clarity between the ideas, and then you precisely link them up, and that's how we achieve this kind of kind of what's that linking up or kind of logical flow of the ideas.
Neetu ma'am, I have unmuted you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizing team for this seminar, which is really a primary need for academic writing. And I would like to also thank to Rajkumar sir for giving such a wonderful session. So many queries that I had have been solved. I just want to ask that if I have some query in future, because there are some small queries when we do some when we start some academic writing. Can we have the number of Rajkumar sir or email ID in future where if I want to ask something, is it possible to ask Rajkumar sir also?
Sure. My email ID is kind of it's available on my website, institute website, or we can always share our email ID. That's not a problem. You're most welcome. Yeah, that's a see. We need to. We can also form as a group, and then probably we can share some of the important information like this, or we can have short discussions, or some kind of what's that? You write something and share with me, so that I write something and share with you. This way, this kind of association, group work is also very important when we want to improve academic writing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're most
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Srinivas, yeah.
Srinivas sir, you can ask. I have unmuted you.
Hello, sir. Namaste, sir.
Hello, sir. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Could you clarify this language skill our Telugu medium students and other languages is motivated to the article publishing and other activities, sir? Research field in this field. Hello, sir.
Yeah, your voice is breaking. Yeah, what's the question, please? Yeah.
Please to clarify, sir, just to basic skills of our non-linguistic of English languages, just like Telugu medium and Urdu, other languages.
Right.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah. No, what's the question? How clarify what?
Clarify language skills, sir. Basic language to the writing of our article or language.
Sir, he's asking how to improve the basic language skills.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. I understand. It's a big concern for That's what I'm saying. See, for us, the problem is not with the content or in the organization or the big picture of the paper. But for us, the problem is with the basics. So how do we improve our basics? Okay, by visiting them, by just reading. See, when you read, you must be aware of. See, first of all, you must identify what are the language issues. List them down. Okay, and prioritize them. What you want to learn first. Prioritize them. Okay, and by one, you have to read. There are a number of online resources. Read and do online exercises or tasks, and you just excel in that, or master that particular aspect, and then go to the second one. So like that, you put a target to yourself, and then it's a kind of personalized reading. Through personalized reading and responsibility, you only improve your basics, and there is nobody who teaches us basics at this age, and we cannot also approach somebody to teach you what is the subject and verb or object. Okay, therefore it's a personal. I see learning basics is of more of personal, depending on the need and depending on the context. It's a personalized reading, okay, based on your priorities. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, and also
the
forming a
basic
group.
examples. Yes.
And
Hello?
also forming a group, sharing some materials, and what is that? Keeping targets, weekly targets, or monthly targets. Okay, you read upon a particular aspect. For example, you have problems with the active and passive voices. Okay, you read, three of you read together, and after reading the point, you come together and then discuss together, and then that will be the end of that particular thing. So you won't have any more problems with it. So reading alone might limit your understanding, but you reading in groups can also kind of kind of open your horizons to new learning and more learning. So that I would suggest. So mostly learning basics will it's a personalized reading at this level, at least. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir,
Hello.
please, sir, you can ask.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Very good afternoon. Sir, firstly, it was a very informative and a wonderful session on how to write the, how to overcome the language barrier whenever we are writing any research paper, sir. So really, I would like to congratulate you for this particular session and also the organizers. Sir, my question is is there any software tool that can overcome or that can detect the language error in the research paper, or the punctuation or the grammatical error in the research paper, sir?
Yes. There are certain softwares which can see. So for example, when you run the software of plagiarism, okay, plagiarism check. There are different softwares. So there are when you check for plagiarism, you can also check for language errors, language so corrections, grammatical mistakes, and all these things. There are certain options for that. For example, there is called Turnitin software. I don't know if your particular organization is subscribed to that particular library, can subscribe to that. So where if they give you access to that particular software, you can run your assignment for plagiarism check. Under that, there are different options. It gives different options. Okay, look for language errors, look for spelling errors, look for punctuation errors. There are very specifically certain softwares really look into these aspects also. So yeah, I'm not aware of too many of them, but I'm aware of this particular Turnitin because I use it. Okay, so I'm sure that there are certain softwares available. Probably you can check, or I will just go through it and then probably I will share it with you in the group. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Hello. And any other questions? Hello. That's all I think so, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Sir, another question from Daveri sir. Please advise me how to write a review paper by referring many review papers of my topic.
Sorry?
How to write a review paper by referring other review papers of my topic.
Right. So in other words, it's a kind of most importantly, you need to have a precise understanding of your own research topic, and then when you review others means what you're finding a literature review. All right. So you need to gather more and more information by reading. What is the purpose of writing a review paper? To be informed about the existing or the current research that has already been done in your own research. So therefore, thorough understanding of present or current research. Okay. So for that, you need to explore in what aspects, in what closely associated aspects the research has been already carried out in this particular area. Only when you are informed of this, then you'll be able to take a particular stance and then start working on a particular review paper. For that, you need to gather information through different sources. All right, there's a primary sources, secondary sources. Okay, and then you need to once you gather the information, you need to most important thing is referencing it. Okay, and when you reference it, or rather when you take the information from these different sources, you need to appropriately mention, or rather give what is that citation. That is very important. You need to mention or you need to cite that particular source wherever you were taking it from. So that way you can do a good review paper. Hello? Hello, am I audible?
Hello, sir. Yeah, audible, sir. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? So, any other questions? I think that's all, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Krishnamurthy, sir.
Yeah, madam. Yeah, thank you,
Yes,
sir.
you can
Thank you
go
very
with the
much,
oath of
sir.
that.
Yeah. Thank you so much once again for all the organizers and also all the participants for your patience and for the opportunity. I deem it as an opportunity to be with you, and I'll be very happy to be associated with each and every one of you, and then to learn more and to learn together. All
Yes,
right. Thank
yeah.
you once again, and have a
Very good afternoon, sir. Very good afternoon to all. Finally, I would like to express my hearty thanks to our esteemed management, Mr. Beloved Principal, Head of the R&D Department, and my dear colleagues for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. I extend my gratitude to our honorable resource person, Dr. Rajakumar sir, IIT Bhubaneswar, to take out time from his busy schedule and for readily accepting our request to grace the occasion. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Yeah.
Sir,
thank you very much.
Sir, participants, I have shared the link in the chat box. You can answer it. Sir, can you take a group photo, sir, for us? Kindly, if you can able to switch on your cameras, it will be easy for you.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that facility is there. Okay, that's nice.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Kindly switch on your cameras in case if you have the facilities. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Where are you, madam? We don't see you.
Yes. Sir, I'm not able to switch on my cameras. It's a problem.
Right, no problem. It's okay.
Network issue is there. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, thank you once again, and have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I have shared the feedback link in the chat box, as well as I'll share it in the WhatsApp group, and you'll be getting the certificates within 1 or 2 days. Kindly bear with us. I'll stop the recording. So thank you, sir. Krishnamurthy, sir. I'll stop the recording now, sir. Okay.
Okay, madam.